Hello, friends. I'm your host, Dave Layton, and welcome to Signs of Our Time, discovering America's heritage one sign at a time. This podcast is designed to provide the story behind the story found on America's roadside historical signs.
Number, please. Thank you.
Some of us of a certain age can certainly remember going through a telephone operator when the phone rang. The historical marker for the first telephone call can be found in Boston, Massachusetts. This is where the first telephone call was made by its inventor, Alexander Graham Bell, and he made that call in March of 1876. It is recorded that the first phone call was to his assistant, Thomas Watson. Mr. Bell reportedly said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." And by the way, it seems that Mr. Bell wanted us to answer the telephone by saying, "Ahoy," or "Ahoy, hoy." If ahoy sounds nautical, well, it is. It's a nautical term used to hail ships. It seems that another prominent inventor during that time, Thomas Edison, influenced Mr. Bell and everyone else to use the greeting, "Hello." I'm really glad that we say hello. Telephones have gone through many variations over time and will continue to evolve as a state-of-the-art communication device. We now have all sorts of wireless technology. We even have hands-free phones in our homes and cars. There's a certain name that begins with the letter A that we don't say at our house. If we say her name, she will respond by asking us questions or giving us an answer. Sometimes she'll answer to a question we did not even know we asked. But it is convenient that we can use the device to complete a call without touching the telephone. If you do a search on the internet to find out who made the first wireless phone call, you'll find that on April 3rd, 1973, a man named Martin Cooper is credited with making the first cellular phone call. He is also credited with inventing the cellular phone on which he was talking. It was a bulky, brick-shaped device, hence nicknamed the Brick. But if you continue researching, you'll find that Mr. Cooper was not the first person to make a wireless phone call. That honor goes to the inventor of the telephone itself, Mr. Alexander Graham Bell. Mr. Bell invented a wireless telephone in 1880. It was called the photophone. It transmitted sound using a beam of light. So you could also argue that he was the first to use fiber optics. Well, here's how it worked. Sunlight was reflected onto a flexible mirror. Then sound waves were added, making the mirror vibrate. The vibrations were captured and transformed into electrical signals and converted to audible sound. You know, that seems like a lot of technical stuff, and it's way beyond my understanding. Although the photophone was patented and shown to work, it was not a commercial success. There were concerns about limitations, such as relying on sunlight and additional sensitivity to surrounding light. And although it was a bulky process, it was remarkable for the time. It laid the foundation for fiber optic and other technologies we use today. Mr. Bell is supposed to have considered this device his most important decision. Given the proliferation worldwide of cell phones and other wireless communication devices, that thought seems to have merit. Even in parts of the world with limited resources, you're very likely to find cell phones in use. And by the way, I could not find what was said over the first wireless photophone phone call. I want to change focus now and look at another telecommunication milestone credited to Mr. Bell. He is credited with making the first transcontinental telephone call on January 25, 1915. It connected Mr. Bell, who was in New York, with his former assistant, Thomas Watson, who was in San Francisco. Also present on the call was President Woodrow Wilson in Washington, D.C., and Mr. Theodore Vail, who was the president of AT&T. He was located on Jekyll Island in Georgia. Well, as the story goes, someone suggested to Mr. Bell that he repeat the words he originally spoke when the telephone was first invented. He obliged with the famous statement, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want you." Well, Mr. Watson replied, who, by the way, remember, was in San Francisco. He said, "It would take me a week now." Well, before I wrap up, please allow me to speak to a little bit of personal history related to telephones. When I first enlisted into the Air Force in the mid-1970s, I was a telecommunications specialist. Part of my duties involved working at the Air Base Telephone Switching Center. I was the telephone operator known as Operator 6. A phone call would come to the switching center. I would answer the call and connect it to the switch that the caller wanted to contact. An outside caller could go directly to an office on base, but if they called the general base number, then they spoke with me. I would pull a patch cord from their call and insert it into a line where they were calling to. And then several years later, I was assigned to Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. This was before we had cell phones or other high-tech devices like email and internet calls. If we wanted to call home, which was an international call, we had to go through the phone operator on the base, who, by the way, were Turkish citizens, not military operators. And you were only allowed one 5-minute personal call per month on the military lines. So you contacted the base operator and made an appointment for a personal call. You had to allow them 3 hours notice. The call usually was made in the middle of the night, and sometimes the atmospheric conditions between Turkey and the United States were unstable, and so the connection was weak. And sometimes the connection was lost completely. We could make a commercial call, but it cost a lot, and on a young sergeant's pay, it was only for emergencies. If your family had to call you, they would have to go through the local American Red Cross office that was located on the base. Also, our phone in the barracks was in the hallway. It was not uncommon to hear someone yelling over that telephone how much they loved their wife or children in the middle of the night. We all suffered the same situation, so no one was inconvenienced. Today, with cell phones and internet technology, our military and other folks overseas can contact their families or conduct other business with a lot less trouble and expense. I've even communicated with folks in New Zealand and South Africa to record podcast episodes. We've come a long way in the last 20 or 30 years and have a long way to go. It is remarkable all the creative genius that went into what we now take completely for granted. It is also remarkable how this device has transformed and continues to transform our world and worlds beyond. We now have transcontinental, trans-world, and even trans-universe communications. We are limited only by our imagination. Well, friends, there you have it. A story behind the story from America's historical signs and markers. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to subscribe and continue listening as we bring more episodes about the rich heritage of our great nation. Please share this podcast with others. If you have interesting stories about historical signs and markers, email me at AmericanHistoricalMarkers@gmail.com. That's AmericanHistoricalMarkers@gmail.com. Maybe your story behind the story will be featured. I'm your host, Dave Layton, and thank you for listening and safe travels.